Okay, all set.
Okay. So welcome everyone to the Water Pollution Control Authority Commission meeting. Tonight is September 23rd. If there are not any proposed changes to tonight's agenda, we'll proceed with what's been published. Hearing none, we proceed. First item on tonight's agenda, and sorry, I'm actually trying to do it on everything on one computer tonight for some reason. Approval of the August 26, 2020 meeting minutes. Are there any comments or questions? I
had to make a move.
I have one, and that is under old business. First paragraph. About halfway through, it said Mr. Ellis said he never recalled approving a peaking factor of 2.5, and a lot of projects have had numbers manipulated. I agree with the first part of that statement, a peaking factor of 2.5. If we could end it at that period. I am not aware of a number of projects that have had numbers manipulated, so that's certainly not the case. Are there any other proposed changes? Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as currently written with the proposed change given by Chairman Mark Ellison.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mark, Joe, Christian, and Quinn. Motion being made by Christian. Thank you.
Quinn wasn't there, so I have to abstain. Quinn has to abstain.
Yes, good point. Excellent point. Okay, next item on the new business, discussion regarding a discussion on the 2021 sewer bills. Chris, why don't you give us, there was some lengthy discussion last month on those. How are we doing with those? I assume they're about to go out?
Yes, we received notification today. The bills will be processed on Friday and mailed out, and the residents should receive them on Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. So we expect that there will probably be some noise around those meters that could not be read. And I suspect we'll be discussing that over the next few months. And so those people either keep quiet or come in.
Right.
Okay.
And we've typed a letter. We have an insert that's going to go in their bill for those residents. There's, I think, 150 bills that we're going to put this insert in and mail it.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that update, Chris. Moving along, section 3 under new business. First item tonight in front of us is to consider and act on a request by Pereira Engineering representing RD Cinto to line 160 feet of a 21-inch sewer main from 185 Thorpe Street on a Thorpe Street project to the existing manhole in the rear of Ruane Street. Before, and I think I heard Rob on the phone, and I think Joe's here too, right? Pereira.
Yep. I'm here.
Chris, I personally get some of the details of this pipe lining and participation by the applicant confused with the Metro Center one. So could you give us a couple minutes of the history of this and where we sit in terms of the current approval?
Yes, the original proposal came to us in 2017. Upon that, it was agreed upon that they were going to contribute, the developer was going to contribute $100,000 for needed repairs of the line. The scope of the project then changed in 2019. It was represented, and the developer agreed to do the improvements under his contract or scope of work. They're now in front of us, the commission, to present to line that section of pipe. The line was cambered back in 2011. I reviewed the footage. There seems to be what we consider a sag or a dip in the pipe. The camera went underwater during a significant portion of the footage. So we would assume that there was a dip or a sag in that pipe. It does cross the wetlands. It was put in the 1950s on wood piles. We would consider those piles probably rotted or decayed at this point, which would make that sag in the line. So I don't know if Joe wants to follow up with a little more on this, but.
Yeah, I think you covered the history on it, Chris.
Yep.
You know, the sewer routing itself has not changed as we go from the corner of Bungalow and Francis and wrap around the building. None of that has changed. The only thing that's changed is this last section where we were proposing to cross through the marsh and replace that. And now we're proposing to leave that in place and line it. So you end up with basically a new pipe inside. And it would just be that last section that connects to the manhole, the existing manhole over off of Ruane Road.
Okay. About how long is that section of the pipe?
It's, I have on the drawing, it's 181 feet
Okay.
from where we connect to the manhole itself.
You're just looking at the map.
Question, in lining the pipe, would there be any concern that the liner would be impacted by that dip in the pipe, or if there were future areas or sort of pylons that had been rotted away, that would increase or the possibility of that liner being damaged, or would the liner essentially create a more stable pipe in the long term?
Is that for me? Yeah, the liner typically will do two things. It basically lines the pipe, meaning you get a smooth surface with a low friction value, and it also tends to strengthen the pipe itself.
So it would be impacted by that dip in the pipe in the future if it continued to rot, if one of those pile of wood continued to rot away?
So I believe if anything else, the liner will help to strengthen that pipe, and it'll conform to the inside of that pipe itself.
Great,
Christian,
thank you.
this is Bill Norton. Christian, this is Bill Norton. Joe's correct in that it will strengthen the pipe, but it will not help with the dip. And if the pipe continues to dip, the sag will continue. So.
Yeah. We could get an offset joint or something.
So the real crux of it is that dip in the pipe. It needs to be addressed at some point, and the liner won't necessarily address that main issue.
No, the liner won't address it.
I just intervene for 1 second. If you're going to speak, can you just address your name? We're having trouble keeping track of who's speaking at what time.
Yeah, sorry, that was me, Christian.
Yeah.
Mark Ellison speaking. How active is that line? Where is that flow originating from, and how much is going through that line?
There is about probably 30% of the town's flow goes through that line. It's the east trunk, or the east trunk, from the whole west side of town.
Gotcha. Was this
The 21 inch
identified,
trunk line.
the I&I study that Wright Pierce had done? If 30% of our flows going through a conservation area with a sagging pipe, is this it's the first time I'm hearing about it? Were we aware of this before?
Yeah, it was brought up to the commission back in 2019 or 17, sorry, when they first proposed this project. And that's when, obviously, we were under the impression that this pipe was going to get replaced. So.
This is Rob Cinto, real quick. Okay, do you mind if I just say a couple words?
Please. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. As it stands now, I do understand there is a dip in the pipe. The reality of it is, and you, Chris, you're absolutely right. We did say we would replace the pipe. If we go back in and replace that pipe, there's a huge unknown of what's going to happen there, right? We're going to have to dig up a huge conservation wetland area. We're going to have to drive piles. We're going to hope that we hit bedrock or stable ground in those piles and that they stay. We think that that's a huge risk. Putting the liner in the pipe, we think is the best case scenario right now. I think we'd also offer up that if it doesn't work, which hopefully it does work, and it's the least, intensive and least disruptive process. But if it doesn't work, and for whatever reason in the future, we would make a contingent upon its approval that we would go in and do the work. But we honestly feel that this would be the best fit and the best fix for this situation right now. If that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, analogous to
I'm in, by the way.
I was not aware that the structural integrity of the pipe was in question, and I'm still not sure that's the case. It seems like this is something that we'd want to get the camera all the way through, wouldn't we? Or is that impossible given the amount of flow that's going through?
No, I would agree. We would want to get that line cambered fully. I don't know. There was an email that went out to the chairman and vice chair. I'll give a little more history on this. So they cambered that line in 2011. They were able to get 166.9 feet into the pipe, and then they backed out. They didn't give a reference of why or for what reason, but the pipe was only cambered 166 feet. It's 415 feet long as we speak right now. So they didn't get very far into it. We would probably recommend cammering the whole thing to find out what's going on with it.
Can someone bring me up to speed? I just got in.
Yeah, we're on new business, Thorpe Street. Rob Cinto and his engineer, Joe Pereira, are discussing with the department and the commission the structural integrity of a pipe that runs from the development project to Ruane Street. There's been discussion over the years about the replacement of that pipe, and the proposition, for lack of a better word, is to line the pipe rather than replace the pipe, analogous to the Metro Center pipe that we've been discussing over the last year or so.
Sorry, I was late. Couldn't get in.
So the discussion point right now is, do we have enough information to make a decision on the best course of action? And I think the answer is no, that we need some more information on what the structural integrity of that pipe is. Joe D'Avanzo, you've been quiet. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking at the drawing. Chris, you mentioned that they went into that pipe 160 feet.
Correct.
So where do they go in? Do they go in at the manhole that is right off of the first manhole as you come in off of Bungalow? Is that the 400?
They actually went from the manhole in the back of Ruane Street and went
Okay.
backwards up the line
Okay.
towards the flow.
I was thinking maybe they were in the middle of the site itself and didn't make it out to the marsh area.
Oh,
So they went in 160 feet. So that manhole, if you look at the drawings, that's station 28. So that marsh area is about 120 feet long. I don't know where the low point is, but depending on where that low point is, it's possible that maybe that low point is on the site itself.
well, the thought was there's a stream crossing there.
Okay.
And it might fall right in that location of where that 160 feet is. It's just shy of the entering the project.
Yeah, because I think we got about 130 feet to the stream itself, 140 maybe to the other side. So 160 will put it basically where we're showing our walk around the perimeter. That's marsh, that wetland area.
Yeah.
So I guess that whole point, depending on where it is, it's possible that we may be replacing that as part of the work that we're doing, where we tie in.
Yeah.
Chris, this is Bill. How long was the camera underwater?
It went immediately underwater. After it entered the manhole, if the camera submerged in underwater fairly quickly after it left the manhole.
So they got through 166 feet, but we really never
100
saw integrity of the pipe.
No, we never saw the top or the crown of the pipe at all. It was underwater the entire time.
We don't know what kind of camera they used. They just used a crawler without a scissor jack on to try to get it out of the water. We really don't have any indication on the integrity of that pipe.
Correct. Yeah, they never were above the water level.
And I think I don't know if we've got records on the existing piles that this pipe was on and when it did meet bedrock or restriction.
So I don't know that when you show up the town
how easily they'll be installed or difficult.
My phone's upstairs.
Correct. The record drawing shows that it was put in 1950.
Okay. Well, it seems to me that we have some diligence to do on what that pipe looks like, both under the conservation area as well as under the property. Hopefully the slope is under the property, part of the pipe that is to be replaced. I don't think we're in a position to make a decision tonight.
Do you want some better hotter?
I took them out of the water.
Thank you. And I put them in sauce if you want some. They're hot.
Can I
Can I
unmute
ask,
their phone?
Yeah, whoever is on 6-1 or 3-3, last two digits.
Yeah. I'm going to mute them.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? This is Rob Cinto again.
Yes, sir.
Of that 30% that this pipe carries, how much of that is I&I, do you think?
It's hard to say. We wouldn't,
Yeah, I know, but like, how many houses does this pipe service?
Oh, it's right, Bill. It's probably about 30% of the town.
Yeah, okay, fine. That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. I thought that was the answer. I just had to ask it, you know?
Yeah.
Essentially, it takes all of Southport and, everything on the west side of town.
We have two main interceptors. That's one, and the other is the east trunk line, and that one carries 70%, the other carries the 30%.
Understood.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from the commission? From the public? Okay, so it sounds like the next best course of action is for the department to work with Mr. Cinto and his engineering firm to scope that pipe and have a discussion on the best course of action going forward.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Okay.
Nice talking to you guys.
Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you, Rob.
Right.
Later.
Okay. So, point B under new business, discussion regarding pipe corrosion at the Mill River Pump Station and possible pipe replacement. This is new on our radar. So, who from the department wants to walk us through this?
I can walk you through it. This is Bill.
Bill.
We had noticed some corrosion on the pipe, and so we had Dennis bring in some of his pipe engineers and experts to take a look at the pipe at the Mill River Pump Station. So they did that, and then I received the memo that you guys got in your package from Dennis explaining to us that there's some corrosion, severe in some cases, on some of the pipes that are going away from the pumps. And the atmosphere in the wet well, if you know a wet well is, a lot of times when you get in the summertime, you get humid conditions, you get cooler water running through the pipes, so you get condensation building up on the outside of the pipes if they're not painted properly, and or if the moisture gets underneath the paint, it starts to corrode underneath, then the paint becomes dislodged, and then the corrosion continues through the pipe. If you notice from Dennis's email, we have, conservatively probably a couple of years to go on that pipe if we don't do anything. Right now, we're in the process of putting a dehumidifier down there so that we dry it up down there so it doesn't continue to corrode. Or we try to, stop it the best we can. So that's where we're at. But the reason for bringing all this up is I don't want to go ahead and spend $100,000 changing pipes and then 2 years later redo the whole station. I don't want to just, put a Band-Aid on it for 2 years. It's going to cost $100,000, and everybody's going to ask, well, why'd you spend that much money when we're going to replace the station anyway?
Well, as we've come to learn, nothing gets done in 2 years, so that's not likely to happen. But it's a fair point.
I understood that, but that's why I just wanted to bring it up. And I think if I know Dennis is on the line, wants to add anything to that.
Yeah, this is Dennis Divert. Thanks, Bill. So, the only thing I'll add is we did identify that as an issue in the facilities plan report that we did. And I believe we slated that pump station to be upgraded in the year 2024. So I think Bill is just being proactive and planning for that and bringing it up now. So when the time comes, we're ready, or you're ready, excuse me. And we don't have another Easton Turnpike situation. So, you have several pump stations, and I think Mill River and Fairfield Beach, I believe, are the next two that you would start thinking about tackling. So.
Do the other pump stations need dehumidifiers?
Typically in a below grade room like that, you have some dehumidification, but normally they just put one of those portable ones that you plug into the wall. They're the most cost effective. If you put an elaborate system in, they don't last. It's better to just replace one of those portable ones every several years, so many years.
And just adding on to Dennis' point, like Eastern Turnpike is going to be a submersible station, and those do not need dehumidification because everything's in the wet well. So those kind of stations that we have, and we have some submersibles already, like Fall House and Eastfield, Willow Street. Several of them are already submersible pump stations that where the pipes really don't run through the building. Mill River is a large pump station with a very large room downstairs with street pumps in it. Not to beat our own horn here, but it is in very good shape other than some corrosion on the pipes. I mean, everything else is in really good shape. And this is nowhere compared to the scope of the project we're doing at Eastern Turnpike. This is truly a rehabilitation of the existing station. We're not adding on to it. We're not building anything outside of it. This is strictly a rehabilitation.
Bill, this is Christian Dockham. Can you talk? It gives a quote of about $50,000. If we were to invest that money into the rehabilitation of these corroded pipes, would that enable us to push off? Based on what you're saying, it's in really good shape. Would that enable us to push off the complete overhaul of that pump station to further on down the line? And I know you're worried about paying right now and then repair, doing a full overhaul in 2 years. But if we paid right now, we push that to 10 or 15 years down based on the conditions of the other equipment within the pumping station.
Yeah, I understand your point, Christian. I think we talked about this, Dennis and I, and probably $50,000 is, probably a low figure. We'd probably look at doubling that to try to cover everything for bypass pumping and just for, to be on the safe side, because we, as Mark said, we know what we get when we look at these projects and what happens to them when we go out to bid. Again, if we replace the pipes, that's only one part of the whole system. Dennis would be evaluation. We'd be replacing all of the electronics, all the flow measurement, the mag meter, which tells you the flow through the treatment plant. We'd be upgrading all the MCC and all the controls, and all the furnace things. In the original preliminary study in 2016, Dennis called for replacing the generator, but we don't have to do that now because we have the generator project going right now, and that generator's, I think Chris is roughly 90%. I think we're just waiting on the gas company to hook up the gas, and then we have some minor work to hook it into the pump station and get it up and running. It's a tough question, Christian, in that, we could replace the pumps, the pipes, and then all of a sudden, 2 years down the road, some electronic issue happens, and, then you say, oh, well, you're good for 10 or 15 years, and I'm not sure I can say that.
Okay, thank you.
Mark, this is Joe. Can I ask Bill the opposite question? Bill, if we move the upgrade of the Mill River pump station up to today, can we do it? Feasibly do it? Move the 2024 project up to 2021.
Can we do it? I don't see why not. I mean, I think it would take Dennis probably, 6 to 8 months to design it. And I think in the 2018 report was roughly $1.1 million.
Right. Can the corrosive pipes handle it if we move it up? What would happen with them for the period of time?
I don't think it's anything that's has to be done right now. I mean, like I said, we'll put a dehumidifier in there. We may scrape the pipes and maybe put some paint on them, try to do the best we can to stop the corrosion where it's at right now. but, you know, there's no guarantees with, we had Dennis come out and take a look at the integrity of the pipe and the thickness, wall thickness of it. I don't think we're in an emergency situation. Dennis, maybe you can add to that.
Correct, Bill. We hired a company to do ultrasonic testing of the pipe wall thickness, and the differences were nominal. There really was, they haven't started to deteriorate yet. Correct. I think the general idea here is planning ahead. You have a lot of stuff going on right now. Once that's all done, then you got to think about what's next, and this would be one of those next things that you should tackle. Once the hardening is done and the microgrid and Easton Turnpike and all that stuff, once that's all done, this may be one of the next projects you should consider.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would imagine the dehumidifier can be funded out of a line item that we have, and look for the $50,000 to $100,000 in the next capital budget we review, unless it needs to come forward before then.
No, I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, the dehumidifier has been ordered, so as soon as it comes in, we should have it in place, I would say, by early next week. I would like to get it up off the floor, so we're going to build a platform for it, keep it up off the floor. And then we have a sump pump that's already at the station that it'll drain right into, so it's not something that has to be emptied like a home one. This will drain itself, and then we'll set it to a level where we're comfortable that the humidity is at a good level down in the room.
Great. Appreciate the proactive nature. Okay, let's continue on to old business, section 4 of tonight's agenda. First item is to consider
Did you just lose service?
Road.
Yeah, Mark, you're going to have to repeat that. We lost you.
Yeah.
You were breaking up.
Yeah. Am I back?
You're back.
Great. Okay, so we're on old business. First item, to consider and act upon a request to connect 17 units with 34 bedrooms at 888 Oldfield Road to the Fairfield sewer system. Make it through that time?
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, so we discussed this briefly last month. Questions around whether or not the department had sufficient time to look at the data, if we had a significant rain event, et cetera. Where do we stand this month?
Yes, they did do the corrections that we requested. We wanted the calculations in gallons per day. They did show that. And yes, they did have the adequate rain events. There were 2 rain events within a week period. So,
that's efficient.
Yeah. So they did fulfill their requirement.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
No? Motion?
So, Chris, this is Joe Devanzo. Chris, from what I gathered, if they fulfilled their obligation of converting and the 2 rain events, you're okay with the capacity of the pipe then, the rest of the state, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the application to connect the 17 units containing a total of 34 bedrooms to the Fairfield sewer system at 888 Oldfield Road. This motion is contingent on the approval of final plans by staff, payment of the calculated I&I fees upon pulling the building permit. Further, this approval will be valid for a 2-year period from the date of this motion. If the permit is not issued within the 2-year period, The applicant shall submit a request to the WPCA Commission for subsequent consideration.
Excellent.
I'll second that.
Second from Jerry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, this is Christian. Aye.
Okay, so that was unanimous. Okay, terrific. Okay, next item is a discussion regarding the 15 Umpqua Road, possible conceptual plan to upgrade the sewer main 10-inch from Sanford Street to Reef Road.
Last part you were breaking up. Can you just repeat that last part?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I might turn off my video, but then it's tough to see the crowd. The request is for an update on the discussion.
Yeah, I can give you an update. So we met with the development team about 2 weeks ago to address concerns from each department internally. We discussed the possibility of relocating or upgrading the line from an 8-inch to a 10-inch line across the post road. The developer has since come up with a conceptual plan to come across the post road through the green into Reef Road with an upgraded 10-inch line. It's only, as we speak now, it's only a conceptual plan. I don't know if it would work based on utilities and so forth. That would have to be determined at a later time, but I think they want to speak on behalf of, that possibility. So if anybody from the development team wants to take over.
This is Larry Edwards. Anybody else on? Okay, I guess I'm it. Okay. Again, Larry Edwards. Basically, we were asked to come up with and provide us basically a conceptual plan at this point for basically taking the line from the end of Umpqua, where it goes in on the post road, going directly across the post road and tie into, because if you're familiar with that line, it comes down at Umpqua, goes east all the way down to the old post road, across the post road, and then back down then the other side of the street to Reef Road. So instead of trying to upgrade that whole line, if we were able to come with a line straight across into the park there, it'd be a new manhole we'd have to put in over top of the existing line there, and then extend that down to the existing 10-inch line at Reef Road. It's about 190 feet of new 10-inch pipe, but it would cut off that corner and obviously increase the capacity for Umpqua Road, but also increase the capacity for, everything else on the post road that would be tying into that.
And this is Chris Russo, attorney for the property owner. Just to let you know too, there is we're going through some changes with the actual project itself. From what you saw last time, there's more of a rebalancing between the commercial portion of the development and the residential. We're increasing the commercial portion of it. And the bedrooms count is coming down to 39 bedrooms. But we first wanted to just present this conceptual plan for the line. But eventually you'll see a slightly different plan from what you saw before with regards to this project.
Chris or Larry, can I just want to weigh in or give you the opportunity also to present to the commission. We had the discussion in the meeting that we had about the oil water separator as well. I don't know if you want to discuss now what was discussed with that.
Yeah, basically, I think
Possibly.
it was decided that we were gonna put, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you over.
No, go
That
ahead.
we were gonna put in a storage tank instead of, a sump pump, and that tank would be pumped out as needed, because there's really no flow going into it except for what runs off of cars. So it would provide the capacity, and you'd put an alarm in so that when it got to a certain level, the alarm would go off, and then they would call in a pump service to pump it out and discharge it. I'm not sure where that goes. That's out of my wheelhouse, but I would imagine it goes to the treatment plant somewhere and is discharged with just the flow that there would be out of that tank.
How big is that tank? And how often do you think you project it has to get emptied?
I mean, if we put a 1,000-gallon tank in, I would expect every 3 months or something, maybe. You know, at certain times of year, there's going to be more. I'd say probably in wintertime, it may be every, 3 months. During the summer, you could go all summer if you don't get any serious amounts of, rain off the cars. But again, that's all it is what's ever going to come off the cars is what's going to go into that pump or into that tank. And obviously, if we had talked at one point about things flooding down there, then you're going to still have the tank because that's all that's going to be filled with the oil that's going to have to be, that would be a critical element to discharge. And that would be, a sealed tank, and it would be, subject to pumping. So that's really what it's going to come down to. That's what we're recommending at this point.
Okay. How do we get more clarity, certainty around the 10-inch kind of behind the project pipe? Is that a wait and see based on what the developer wants to do with the project, or is that something that we start to diligence now?
Chris, I'm leaving that up to you.
I think at this point, the development team should investigate, moving forward with a plan based on utility elevations and so forth. It could be a possibility. It might not. I don't know. There's a large line in that road over there, as you're aware, the 345 kV line, which could cause a big conflict. We did a large drainage project about, 8 or 10 years ago in the Post Road. We came across the conduit and infrastructure for that 345 kV, which limited our capacity in that area for the drainage that we were going to do. So, it's definitely worth the investigating to see, I think, if it would work or not. But, at this point, that's probably the only avenue that we have left. So.
Okay. Thoughts, comments, questions?
I have a question, if I may.
Sure. Who's speaking?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Lee Forrest. I'm the owner of the property. What are we looking at kind of for cost on a project like this to cross the Post Road and everything? Do we have any kind of idea of what that'll cost?
The average cost without a utility conflict or anything is about $150 to $200 a lineal foot. That's about a rough idea. Once you get into, rock and ledge and utilities and so forth, obviously the price is going to escalate significantly.
Okay. All right. And if we were doing a 10-inch line, would it make sense to upgrade it to a 12-inch line just for, future tie-ins and things of that nature? Would that be?
No, we can't do that because the downstream line is only a 10-inch line. So we don't want to increase, we would have a reduction in the line. So we want to stay, uniform. So that the biggest size we can go is a 10-inch.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's if there was a kind of a hard and fast zoning plan for downtown, we'd have a sense of how much additional capacity was going to be needed, and how that flow would kind of parse out to those developments. But what we're finding out is we don't know where these developments are going to pop up. And then we try and figure out how we get infrastructure around them to work. And so it's a very thoughtful comment, creating the line, but I wish we could, because intuitively it feels like there might be some more development downtown. But we just don't, we really don't know, which is really pretty remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a spot building base is how it's going on. There's no plan coming out of the town as far as what they see in the future, the next 20 years down there. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good discussion. I'm not sure there's, sounds like the ball is in the applicant's court to consider, really from an engineering perspective. We're here every month, so look forward to continuing the dialogue.
Are we here to vote on it, or we're just here to consider it?
It sounds to me as though there's not enough information to even consider it viable at this juncture. It's a hypothetical. That appears to be worthy of more diligence and investigation from the applicant.
Yeah, and this is Chris Russo. I think that's, the purpose of being here tonight is just to present this concept and because obviously we've been here before this commission, and to make sure that we get all the information and understand your concerns and try to obviously gather responses based on that feedback. So when we come to you, we make sure that we've addressed everything that you're concerned with this project that's been with you before, but then this path of installing this line.
Yeah. Look, it sounds like I hope it works out. It sounds like a creative workaround, and it sounds like some good thought has gone into the collection of the water runoff. So, I'm hoping you get some traction with it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, item. That's it for old business. We are now proceeding to Roman numeral V, update on current projects, of which there are a significant number of projects and updates. So who's going to lead us? Chris, Bill, Brian?
I'll start off. Anybody wants to chime in, they can. So we got the Mill River Pump Station generator that's been installed. All the site work is complete. We're still waiting for the gas company to install the gas line. When that happens, I don't know. It's in the works now. Item B, status on the wastewater treatment plant generator. It's been delayed due to environmental testing on site. Once the environmental testing is done, that project will move forward. Like I said, the generator has, go ahead.
I think they have some of their environmental factors. They started to remove the asphalt to go ahead and put their foundation. Right now, there seems to be a conflict with some pipes from the microgrid that we're going to meet on tomorrow.
Well, that's a bit of good news.
Brian, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this as well, but the environmental testing will be done by Ty and Bond, I believe. Is Brian on? I believe the Ty and Bond is going to do the environmental testing for that. So item C, update on the wastewater treatment, the WPCA hardening project goes along with the environmental testing for the site as well. The site contractor is going to be resuming work next week. The sheeting contractor will resume in about 2 weeks, either the last week in September or first week in October. There's been some change orders, which I sent along as well. I don't know if everybody's looked at. The road work and utility installation is not going to take place until the springtime. We're going to hold off, get this environmental concern taken care of. And then we're going to move forward with the utilities and relocating the road in the springtime. So I believe we've received an extension on the grants. So that's all been taken care of. Item D, status on the Eastern Turnpike Pump Station. The contractor actually mobilized today. They started grubbing, taking stumps out for the pump station. The wet well is currently in design and it should be delivered in a few weeks. There was a little bit of a delay with the COVID issue, getting some parts, but last we heard from the contractor, the wet well is in production. So,
can I, on the Easton, on the pump station, feels like I'm guessing we got the easement signed and agreed to with Sacred Heart.
We've got the MOU signed. That's the rest of it is still pending with the attorneys, I believe, as far as the easement and whatnot. So.
Okay, so no payment either, then I would imagine.
No payment that I'm aware of, no.
But Chris, can I ask you, who is doing the billing of this? The MOU indicates that 20% should have been paid as soon as work started, not the easement, the MOU.
I believe it was contingent with the signing of the building permit. We have not signed the building permit yet for the building. So the building permit is in the departments. I did receive it in the mail and it is in the building, going through internally through each department. Once it's signed, I believe, and then at that point we can move forward with the attorney and request a portion of the payment.
Okay, so that's going to be requested through the attorney, not anybody in the town department that's going to actually cut an invoice to them, or?
No, I don't believe so. I think it would have to go through the attorney. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And Dennis, feel free to intervene if you need to. All right. So next item, letter E, status on the force main. Currently, we have. I believe, Dennis, what was the figure that came through today? 1,400 feet? 1,300
about
feet.
13 and change.
That's great.
Okay.
Out of how much, Chris? What's the total amount? What's the total amount?
It's 13 change, 1,300 and change.
Has been done.
Has been done, correct.
And how much is the total?
1,300
It's like 5,800.
5,800.
So it would double that. Yeah.
5,800 is more than double 13.
No. 1,500 is the total length.
Total length.
I knew you were going to say that.
You misunderstood the question, Chris. You wanted to know.
Yeah.
You got it. Right. Keep going.
I got it. Yeah. DOT, we had a conflict with the water main. So it had to be redesigned. We had to relocate the trench. It's in DOT review right now. Once it's approved, then we can move forward and we had to skip one section because of this conflict. So that's in DOT review and we should hear back, soon on that. Next item, letter F, status update for the East Trunk sewer relocation. I don't know, Dennis, you want to give an update on this?
Yeah, so I was hoping to have the report to you folks for this meeting, but we just got the geotechnical. We hired another geotechnical engineer to review the sheeting design, and also to review the soil rings that were done. I just received that yesterday. I did skim through it. In general, they were in agreement with the sheeting placement, but not, however, the costs on the sheeting. So I have a teleconference with them tomorrow to go over that, and then we should be able to finalize our first deliverable to you on that. So.
Based on Dennis, based on what we've learned at the hardening project, should we, before we even conceptualize a budget for that project, be taking soil samples, given the history of the Rooster?
That is yeah, we did recommend that. Actually, we talked about this last month, so we do have a line item. You're not going to like this report when you get it, I can tell you, because we recommend. We feel that some of their costs are actually low on a few things, but neither here nor there. You'll when you get it, the full package, you can take a look at it. But we did recommend soil testing, an extensive soil testing program to be done prior to breaking ground, or actually prior to putting it out to bid.
Yeah.
And we actually, not just to back up for a second, Wright Pierce did procure the services of Ty and Bond for consistency. They're going to be doing some soil sampling for us on Easton Turnpike, just so we have it in case something happens. So.
It's a good business to be in, soil testing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know it's getting late, but this is a project that I'm really intent on trying to launch before my term on this commission ends. Given the amount of I&I that comes in through the interceptor, if the borings come back with information that's not favorable, or the soil samples, is there a viable plan B that might include another pump station?
Well, that is so part A of the scope with you folks is to evaluate the Cardinal design and cost estimate, basically, and the geotechnical information. So that's being wrapped up now. And then part B is to evaluate alternatives, which would include a pump station. I can tell you right now that a pump station is not going to be cheaper. It would be cheaper. It would be easier constructability wise, because everything is in one location. But with the soils information, we have Haley and Aldrich is looking at trenchless alternatives through certain areas of the run. So that's part of our deliverable too.
Yeah. But as we're finding out, and when we're digging dirt, around contaminated soil, the costs, increase exponentially as we're seeing with the hardening project. So, look, we look forward to the report. I'm sure I'm being a bit redundant, but I feel better having said it. Thanks.
No problem.
That's one question. Do you anticipate having the report for next month, or?
Yeah, no, you'll have it like next week. My bad on all this. I didn't get it done, and we just got some stuff yesterday from Haley and Aldrich, and I didn't want to rush it out the door. So you'll have it, probably by the end of next week.
Great. Thanks, Dennis.
Yep.
All right. Next item, we ready? The WPC outfall repair. Monday and yesterday, we excavated and exposed the pipe. It was a huge undertaking. A lot of groundwater issues, as Bill can attest to. We finally got to the pipe at the 11th hour yesterday, but we did expose it. The engineer was there. He's going to take the information back to the design engineer. From there, we will, he'll write a report, sign and stamp the plans, submit them back to us, and we can go to bid. So we anticipate the turnaround would probably be about a month by the time he gets back to us. After that, it's going to have to go to bid. We have the grant extension till the end of the year. So we still need funding for it. So we anticipate probably needing an extension on the grant, and maybe hopefully doing this work maybe in the springtime. Doing it in the winter time down there at the beach is probably not the best scenario. So we're going to probably have to execute a new extension on this. So,
Chris, this is Joe Devanzo. Is there any exposure? Obviously, it's a broken pipe in Long Island Sound, and we want to put it off till spring if possible. Is there anything that could possibly happen?
Well, the pipe has been broken since 2014.
Right.
So, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems. We're going to keep an eye on it, obviously, now that it's been exposed again. You know, and if there is a problem, obviously we'll have to move, you know, rather quickly.
Faster.
So,
Okay, as long as we're monitoring it. Thank you.
yeah.
Well, Joe, just for your education, it's the clean water leaving the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all been disinfected, everything's been taken care of. In the olden days, they used to use long pipes out to the sound for contact time because of disinfection. We used to use chlorine. So that would need contact time with the chlorine before it got out to final disposal through the pipe, through the outflow pipe. We use UV now, so it's instantaneous disinfection.
Okay, I'm just concerned with PR work, PR stuff, Bill. You know, they hear that there's a broken pipe out in the Sound, and we're not doing anything till spring. But we'll use you we'll bring you in as the expert and say it's clean water.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll do that. And also, as Chris said, this pipe has been broken since Sandy. And,
don't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Dislocated.
Dislocated. It is separated. It's actually, the pipe isn't broken. It's a joint that's separated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Back to lining pipes.
Yes.
Curious how that process is coming along.
The East Trunk Wetlands Crossing, the RFP has been prepared. It's being reviewed by purchasing now. Once it's reviewed by purchasing, it can go out to bid, and we can get some contractors to bid on it. So, and get us some proposals. So it's been with purchasing for about a week and a half now. As soon as it gets back, we can move forward. So, item J, there's no update on the treatment plant upgrade.
Can I just interject? There's a note from Brian that his microphone's not working. I think if Brian would interject here and say that this is something that's been lying low for a bit of time, and that there's been more active discussion around the cash balances that we have, which are in excess of $9 million, and how we might want to start spending that. Specifically beginning with the wastewater treatment plant design, which is kind of hanging out there. So maybe next month we have a more in-depth discussion on moving that forward and where we stand with the state on the approval for that design plan.
Sure.
Sound good, Bill?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think there's been some of the administration's questions about funding and things of that nature, and what the next step is in the upgrade of the treatment facility.
Okay. The upper East Trunk interceptor sewer location.
Yeah, there's no update on that. It's probably going to be one of our projects moving forward in the near future, but as of right now, we want to finish up the remaining projects.
Makes sense.
Chris,
Microgrid?
Chris,
Yeah.
on the upper east trunk, is there a separate project, not our project, but to redo the Rooster River sewer system, stormwater drainage system?
There is a project that's going on, and to be honest, I don't know the status of what the funding is for it, but there is a project that is going forward with it. There's a lot
I was
of
just wondering
association.
whether we had to do it in conjunction, somehow as everything's dug up, we should be doing something in coordination with them, or ours is completely separate?
No, ours would be separate. A good portion of it would be separate, but there is some of the area down there, and the thought was, the theory behind it was to relocate that pipe from the marshland or the wetlands that follow the Rooster River out into the Post Road, and kind of follow that route. Dennis, I don't know if you want to weigh in on this as far as, when the facilities plan was done, but that was what was proposed at the time. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That was just based on a 30,000 foot look at it during the hydraulic modeling, correct?
Right, yeah.
Joe, I don't know, were you asking about maybe letter G? Were you asking about that?
No, I was asking about letter K. The G, we are doing it in concert with conservation or somebody else over there on G, right? Once they open the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, yeah.
That's what, well, it was in addition to.
Okay.
Now, wherever we could piggyback and save money, that's what I was asking.
Spirit of cooperation.
Absolutely.
All right, the final item, letter L, microgrid. As it stands, we still have environmental testing that needs to take place before the conduits can be installed. We met with the contractor. He's going to provide us with a schedule. The schedule is contingent upon the testing that needs to be done. So there's a little bit of a standstill back there. Once we get the schedule, then we can kind of move forward. So he has some more conduit work to be done and so forth. So.
And Chris, was there a grant on that microgrid?
I believe there was, yes. Phil, I don't know if you can, how much. I don't have the figure in front of me.
My only question is, we're still within the grant. We're not pushing up against where we need to get an extension.
Well, if you remember, there was a change order to remobilize the contractor. And I don't know what the status is as far as what the grant is on that. So we might have, used up the rest of the grant.
Okay, thank you.
So any questions on any of the projects?
No, I'll just say, Chris and Bill, appreciate this is a broad platform of projects right now that you guys are across. We appreciate your hard work.
Absolutely, I'll second that.
Being so plugged in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Not me.
I think that's, any spills?
No, we haven't had any overflows this month. We've had some concerns from residents and business owners down in Southport about landscaper. I don't know, Chris, do you want to just inform the?
Yeah, I can weigh into it. There's a landscaper down in Southport. He's got some a large field of vegetation and bushes and landscape items. He waters significantly at night, through the night, to keep his his plants live and whatnot. The water then runs off into the road. It's on the Post Road. It's a state road. There's no drainage over in that area. But what happens is it's draining down into our manhole in front of, there's a hair salon, and we're getting complaints of the odor of the organics from the mulch and so forth in the manhole right in front of this hair salon. That's the last thing people want to do is, they're going into the salon and they have to walk through a puddle of, dirty water. So, they thought that it was sewage. We tracked it down and we've talked to the owner. Actually, I was in touch with the state today. They're going to address it as well. But we've been getting significant phone calls about it. It is clean water, but it's just organic that's coming off and going into our manhole. So we don't want to be blamed for it.
Well, all right. A heck of a way to end the night.
Right.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, sticking with us. Your motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Be well.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.